Hello my quilting family. So we're back with another installment of the Friendship Star case study, and we're already at the art blocks. So this is my art block for our friendship case study, and I'm going to show you how to make this. This is so quick and so easy. What you'll need is last week's circle. And this is why we told you to save it, because you're going to need it. You need a very lightweight, flimsy interfacing, and it's just the lighter the better. You need 6 stars already with heat and Bond Lite on the back of them to make these little points, these little pointed stars. And you need a 12.5 by 12.5 inch low volume square. So let's jump into this because there's a lot of sewing to do and it's going to be fun. Okay, now that we're at the sewing table, what we're going to do is I'm going to put this face side down on the interfacing, but before I do that, this is something, people do this after, but I do it before. I like doing it before. I cut a slit, not a very big slit, but just big enough, and it's kind of centered, but not really. You don't have to worry about it. So now I have a place to turn this inside out. So what I'm going to do is just line this up kind of as flat as it can be, and I've got some pins. I'm just going to put them around the edge here just to kind of hold my work in place while I sew, because this is this was a, what was it, a 9-inch circle or a 9-inch diameter circle. So anyways, I've got a 1/4 inch foot on here, so we're going to just run a very quick 1/4 inch seam around the outside edge of this this piece here. Right now, you can take your time. This is a pretty forgiving little project, this, so don't get too hung up on, oh, it's got to be lay flat or whatever. You have interfacing behind that you're going to cut away. So, I wouldn't don't get too worried about stuff. Quilting is supposed to be fun. Art blocks are supposed to be a little weird sometimes. They're supposed to be cool. Okay, now I'm just quickly running around this. And I'm going to get my cameraman to, maybe my big scissors are here. And we're just about at the end. And okay. Now, I'm going to take my pins out because I don't need them anymore. And, I'm just going to run this under like so. There. So now I'm going to get a big pair of scissors, okay, to cut my interfacing with. Now, basically all you're doing is you're trimming around it, right? You're removing bulk by trimming. And that's before, and you do this quickly before you just do a rough trim. You do it before you turn your work, because otherwise it gets in there and it's not nice. Now I'm going to show you as well how you can continue to make art blocks with these circles once you have your sewn interfacing. So, and how I make some of my other art blocks. So now I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to pull this part all out. Just pushing it gently through. And normally I have a big tweezer that I use because it's got a nice rounded tip on it, so that's nice. It won't poke through the interfacing, and I just start smoothing it out. Now I'm not really getting myself concerned about ironing this or anything, because sometimes that's all it needs is to be smoothed out. And I make sure I don't make too much of a mess of that, and then I go through and I flip it over. And I want to hide the white, so I just finger press just little areas at a time, making sure that the white interfacing is not showing. Okay. Okay, So here we go, we're just about all the way around. And now with these marks, because I've got the lines from the last time, I told you to keep the lines, don't iron them out. Well, this is why. Because now I'm going to take this, I'm going to fold it in half as best I can, and I'm just going to run my fingernail along, just creating a little crease. And then I'm going to open it up, and I'm going to make a little crease going the other way, just so I can line this up so it's dead center. If you wanted yours off center, that works too. But here we go. So I start lining up this way first, and then I pull this down just a hair. Make sure everything's kind of lined up. I get my 4 pins back, and I just pin this so that it will stay in the center, right? Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to top stitch around. Now, if you were going to do this for a show quilt, let's say you're entering something like this into a show, you would use a matching thread. I've got a medium gray on my machine, and I think that's where I'm going to be. I'm going to sit with that medium gray because it won't show on this. It won't show up too much. Okay, so there I go, and yep, it works good. Okay, so now we're just going to move this, and I have to turn on my light here. I'm sorry if it creates too much glare for you, but I have to be able to see what I'm doing. There. Now I'm just going to start with making a couple of back stitches, and then quickly riding around the outside edge. All you're doing now is you're top stitching your applique piece to the square. And actually you can do this with any applique piece. It doesn't have to be circles. But I'm going to show you the neatest thing about circles here in a sec. And, oops, try not to fall off the edge. And if you do, you just back stitch over it. If you want to hide your back stitching, let's say you fell off the edge or it was uneven or whatever, you could put a real primitive looking blanket stitch, hand blanket stitch around, and nobody would notice. Hand blanket stitches cover all sorts of oopses. And now we're back at the front. Okay, so now I'm going to quickly run that through, and I'm going to cut off my threads to release my piece. Now I'm also going to take out my pins. Now this is where you have an efficiency. So I'm going to cut the back of this out, right, of this circle out, so I can reduce the bulk in the block, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm very carefully going to cut with a little scissor in, just make a little snip, just a little snip, and then I'm going to take my fabric scissors, and I'm hopefully, I got both, I got both the interfacing and the low volume print, but not the blue. You don't want to be cutting the blue right now, because that would be bad. Now I'm going, there. Okay, so now you see this is already lined up and ready to go for another circle, where you have it, the right side is facing up and the interfacing is down. So what I do is I would pin it in place to make sure it doesn't move, and this is where I'm going to make another circle. And you can keep doing this. After a while, as you do this, to make another art block, you would use this, right? And put flowers in, or, you know, whatever you would like. And it's very quick to sew around. And one of the things, after a while, is kind of a diminishing return. After a while, it starts looking squished or off center or whatever. And if you like that look, that's fine. The 2 blocks I made for demonstration purposes, I made 2 of these. So I will, you know, again, sew them on, top stitch them, and away we go. But now we come to the fun part of this. I already have all the heat and bond on my blocks. So basically now I would go around here, and I'm laying so the star points are right at the edge of the circle. You do whatever makes you happy. I mean, basically I've picked all the skin tones of people. Wait a minute here. I'm going to put this one across. And right now, Canada's doing, has some issues with our residential schools and the children that were lost there. So this is why we have the orange. And we're separating them from the red. So this is where our, and it's the Olympics is going on too, right? So we have, here we go. So now I'll press these in place because I've got the heat and bonds already on and the paper's been peeled off. If you have problems peeling off the paper off your heat and bond, take a needle, score it, and then it you can get your finger in or something. So I'm going to press this and I'll meet you back. Okay, we're back from the ironing board, and isn't that cute? The heat and bond just holds it in place, but it only holds it in place temporarily. After a number of washings, this will come undone. So what I do is I stitch around like a raw edge applique, like we're talking like 1/8 stitch around the edge to leave it like a raw edge. And this I'll do here in a minute, but I want my cameraman to show you up close so you can see how the stitching will hold after the heat and bond will not. So now if you wanted to, if you're doing a show quilt, because you're looking at a black square and you can kind of see that light or medium gray thread that I'm there, you would take a black fabric marker and just color right over that gray thread, or that gray thread, so it looks black. If there was any other one that you thought was like showing a bit too much gray, you could just, you know, color mark it through. And those markers are, there's several different ones. I decided I was going to have fun with it and not worry about it. The only one that you really would have to worry about then is the white squares. The white stars, they would need white thread because you can't make medium gray white. It doesn't work. So I'm going to finish this block up as you know, and just go around the stars, and it's going to be fun. It's kind of a little finicky, but it'll be cool, and it adds little pops of colors that are unexpected in our blue and white quilt. So I hope you come back next week for the minis. We're going to make minis, and it's going to be lots and lots of fun. So I hope you join me then. And meanwhile, I hope you have an absolutely fabulous week and everything goes well with your life. Okay, have a great day. Bye. If you have questions about what you saw in this video, or you have ideas for content or something you want to see us do, please put those comments in the description below. But also, while you're there, like, share, and subscribe with your friends. That would really help us out. Okay, I want to thank you and have a great day.